Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the take on this Tuesday morning, the start of a week after this long weekend. And wow, we kind of might have needed that, right? After last week and the craziness of the markets, which continued all the way into Friday. Friday, as a matter of fact, down over 400 points fairly late into the day. And then in the final couple hours, we watched the Dow absolutely catapult up pretty nicely, up about 250 points off of those lows, give or take, finishing the day down about 200 points. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, not only had a nice reversal, 170 points in the final couple hours of the day, but actually finished in positive territory, which was pretty shocking given what we had been looking at for most of Friday and the pressures that we were seeing on the markets, and a lot of that pressure coming from JP Morgan and the financials. And that was really a huge drag on the markets. There's no doubt about that, and influencing a lot of different areas. And the contribution to that move to the downside, no doubt, from JP Morgan when you're looking at the Dow. Now, volatility, however, after jumping up towards 22, we started to ease back. And as the day went on, we started to see this little bit of a rally off of those lows. The volatility absolutely started getting pressed, especially given the fact that we had the extended weekend, Monday off with Martin Luther King Day. And with that, we started to watch that start to move to the upside, or that time frame moving. And with that time framing, that's when we started to see the volatility index start to come in and almost close on the lows of the day. Not quite the lows of the day, but just above 19, call it 1920. A really nice volume day once again, a little over 46.6 million contracts trading. So really a very, very volume-filled day and a very volatile day with that range from 19 all the way up towards 22. We had a nice move in crude. Crude's still in that sort of a move where it's just kind of two steps forward and just one step back. As a matter of fact, crude got up and above that 84 level. Energy stocks definitely leading the way, up about 2.5% on Friday. Really nice performance based, I think, on what we're seeing primarily with crude, but other parts of the energy space as well. The 10-year sort of slipped back just a little bit. Nothing that gets us all wound up or anything, but finished the day just underneath 1.8. We got a pretty nice bounce coming today. When I look at some of those financials, JP Morgan, of course, leading the downside, but not everything was to the downside. As a matter of fact, earnings related, JP Morgan, absolutely. Citi, absolutely. But then you look over at Wells Fargo, had a really nice day. It was up nearly 4% on the day and sort of looked past all day long because of the size and Jamie Dimon and everything that comes with JP Morgan. But certainly, I think you've got to take a look over at Wells Fargo and see that move and what they were able to produce this past quarter as well. And we've got more financials as we've kicked off the earnings season with the financials Friday, but we got a lot more today on this Tuesday. So Microsoft started to rip. A lot of the different big tech names were really ripping off of those lows, and that was where we started to see that big lift in the latter part of the day in the NASDAQ. It was Intel, it was Microsoft, it was Facebook, those kind of names with some extreme recoveries off of where their lows were to where they actually finished the day. So what else was really strong? We had the casinos were really having an unbelievable day. A lot of that having to do with some of the what's going on over in China and some of the concerns that were there that maybe are a little less at least, but a huge move out of Las Vegas Sands, Wind, those names, those beta energy names. I mentioned energy already with that 84 handle on crude. Boy, take a look at Marathon, take a look at Schlumberger, take a look at Diamondback, Pioneer, all those names had a really nice day. Those beta names really were reacting. there was also that big bounce that we had, not just in tech, but in the semiconductors. So names like Lam Research, Applied Materials, KLAC 10 Core, AMD, Qualcomm, all those names actually performing pretty nicely, considering where some of those names were earlier in the session. The weakness, though, we talked about JP Morgan. You take a look at Peloton, you take a look at something like Monster Beverage as well, Costco, Moderna, those names. HD, that was one of the names that definitely did stand out as well. Home Depot, and a matter of fact, Home Depot struggling a little bit today as well. So in the pre-market, we come in after the long weekend, see a little bit of volatility last week, that bouncing around. We got up in those, those low 20s. Today, starting off the day close to that 22 level once again for volatility. That was something that stood out, and a lot of that having to do with what we were seeing on a reaction from this time, not JP Morgan, but Goldman Sachs on the earnings. That really was something that was really driving and influencing the markets. JP Morgan on Friday, why not Goldman Sachs today? And really getting pretty hammered today. As a matter of fact, a huge influence on the Dow, and the Dow was down about 280 in the pre-market, down about 460 when we opened. And then as we got a little bit deeper into the day, we've been down as much as 550 points. We're seeing a little bit of a recovery in some of that. We're also seeing a much bigger recovery out of the NASDAQ as well. The NASDAQ down nearly 300 points. Last I looked, it was down about 170 points. All these things do change rapidly in this first hour of trade. So, we all know that there's a long day. So we'll be keeping an eye on all of this. Crude oil recaptured from years ago, but recaptured 85. So that was something that stood out today. So you look at some of these sectors. At one point in time, the only sector in the green this morning in this first hour was energy. And energy actually was performing relatively decently. It was up about 0.5%. Consumer discretion bounced back pretty nicely, down better than 2.25%. It was down 1.5%. We see a little bit of that reflected in some of the numbers that we're seeing in terms of some of the improvement we've seen. And technology, particularly, it was down 1.75% or so. Last I looked, it was down about 1%. Semiconductors were down almost a little bit more than 2.5%. They were down about 2%. So seeing a little bit of a recovery there. We'll see if that sticks. One of the yardsticks that we've been using a lot, I've been using a lot at least, has been, boy, it seems like the direction of Tesla really does give you some feel of the direction of what's going on, at least in the NASDAQ. And that's something that I've been watching pretty closely for a while now. And as a matter of fact, you take a look at the start of today, things looked really terrible everywhere, including with Tesla. Tesla's had a pretty rapid move to the upside, got back into positive territory. We're seeing the NASDAQ with a pretty decent recovery as well. So just looking around for anything that might be of help as far as what we're looking at, some of the different indicators that might be an influence on the markets. The 10-year, as I mentioned, it's up there. It's up, 1.84, 1.85. It's pretty strong relative. It doesn't sound like that huge of a move, but that is, when you're considering what the 10-year is, it is a pretty substantial move in a very short time frame. So strengths, Activision definitely stands out. Why? Microsoft with this $69 billion bid for the company. The company, Activision, is up significantly, but not at the levels where people are looking for that price of 95, which they were throwing out there. But there's a lot that goes on, a lot of different things, and it's not that they don't have the cash, but there's a lot of different reasons why right now probably it's not at full value or somewhere near there, and this will be a long, long duration. They're talking about getting it into the 2023 world for Microsoft. So this will be playing out for a while. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, some of these financials definitely under pressure today. You take a look at both those names leading to the downside. Names like Moderna, Facebook, Lucid, Peloton. Peloton seems to be an everyday thing. Now it's got a two handle in front of it. So it's trading in the 20s. That's pretty interesting. Cisco, I mentioned Home Depot, a little bit of pressure there. And again, the energy names, as I said, started off in the green today. You look at these energy names, those beta names, Occidental, you look at ConocoPhillips, Devon, all these names having a pretty decent day, along with ExxonMobil, Marathon, Apache, or APA, all these names having a pretty decent day. So we got two unusuals and then done for the day in terms of all this. I do have cash flow portfolio for Market Rebellion coming up around noon Central Time today. But other than that, not having to do anything CNBC related today. So this is it. So BP was number one. That one stood out, one of the first that hit today on unusual. And of course, as you all know, I've been talking about energy for a little better than a year and 2 months, something like that. And this amazing run that we've had, and it's been truly amazing. I'll tell you what, I still believe in that triple digit number. A lot of people question that. It's okay. We're at 85. We're getting a heck of a lot closer. BP stood out because we had some buyers right out of the gate. 2,300 of the March 36 calls. Those are only going for about 50 cents. Not a huge trade, but just adds to what we have been seeing in the energy space. And this one is a name that I've already been in because of unusual previous to this, but I might have to take a look and see if I want to dance around this one in one way or another. But that one definitely stood out for me. The other one is this, Boeing. Now, Boeing has had this great run from, call it close to 200. It was bouncing around either side of 200 for a while. It's gotten a pretty nice lift. If you haven't looked at Boeing for a while, today's stock was trading at around 229 and a quarter. We got the 230 calls for January. That's this week. So fairly short term, but we've got 4 days in the week. We're just getting into the start of the first day, Tuesday here. So that one's interesting. 18,400 of these calls of the January 230 calls purchase started at $1.80, finished around $3. That's a pretty aggressive trade, short term, looking for a move. Doesn't have to make a major move because we're already right there pushing on that number. But that definitely, that size of that trade, the dollar amount committed, that's one of those that definitely stands out for us here at Market Rebellion. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to seeing you later on. If I don't see you with cash flow, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the take. Have a great day of trading.